I'm joined in the studio now with Miss Ulrike Guelich, who is the lecturer and researcher at the School of Entrepreneurship and Management in Bangkok University. Good afternoon, how are you?
Good afternoon, I'm fine, thank you.
And you've already let me off and said I can call you Uli.
Yeah, because it's easier.
Okay, Uli, thank you for joining us today. You are going to be speaking at the IBAP meeting, which is happening this evening, 6:15 at the A2 Resort. And you will be speaking about your subject, which is entrepreneurships in the female category. Tell us a little bit more about what you do and where your background is.
Entrepreneurship in Thailand especially is our subject tonight, and as a special aspect, female entrepreneurship. My background is I was an entrepreneur in Germany, so I'm not a researcher by profession, which I do now. So I have the practical background to look into entrepreneurship, I think. And we do research in combination with the Global Entrepreneurship Monitor, or GEM, which is conducted in 69 countries last year. A longitudinal study on entrepreneurship, aspirations of entrepreneurs, attitudes of entrepreneurs, and entrepreneurial climate in general.
Okay, so to explain entrepreneurship, this is like where someone has the idea and drive to become successful in the business world, yeah?
Yeah, to be self-employed, to start an own business, to run an own business. We see people who intend to start a business maybe in the next 2-3 years, young businesses, and we have many established businesses in Thailand.
So this involves like the world of CEOs as well, to go on a larger scale of someone who...
No, CEOs only if it's a family business. So it's about ownership, being an owner of a business and running a business yourself.
Right, okay, because there is a lot of family business here in Thailand, obviously. Now, do you think that this leads on to women often running these businesses to becoming sort of featured in an entrepreneur sort of style?
Yeah, we see that Thailand is one of the very few countries in the world where more women than men run businesses, slightly more women than men. It's only 7 countries where it's about equal. And Thailand is for each 10 men we find 12 women running a business in Thailand, and I think the climate is very positive for women in general.
And so, does your research show any reason for that yet, or?
We look into it. We just notice it is like it is, and we see that women, even entrepreneurs, are not very innovative in Thailand. We see that women are a little bit more innovative concerning products and manufacturing, not concerning service. And we see that they network in the same way, and the way they lead is different.
Because I've got to say, it's an obvious shift in the last sort of, let's say, 50 years for sure, but even in the last 25 years, I guess, in the last couple of decades, that used to be business was a man's world. So obviously this has been a big shift now. Why do you think that the women of Thailand are taking control a little more? Do you think it's anything to do with the culture, or is it still something to prove like it is some worlds? Because I think in the Western world, it's probably a lot was something to prove to make sure that the women were becoming stronger. How do you feel that relates to Thailand?
I think that the hard-nosed entrepreneur, which is the image a little bit, is not true for Thailand. And we see in history of Thailand that there were a lot of women being caring, being a hero on the other hand, because they were also fighting with the swords, like the two heroines.
Yeah, none more so than here, the pride of the heroines of Phuket.
Yeah, so it's a big issue, and if you talk to successful female entrepreneurs, they tell you that they're caring, they are mothers, they care for their family, which is the business, their employees, and on the other hand, they are very tough. They're really very tough doing business. So
it comes from the protection of a woman, a mother of her children and family, to now actually taking that into the mental sort of strategy of business. Very interesting. So it's been 14 years you've been studying now around the world. What are you trying to understand also about the entrepreneurship of women? Is there an end result? Are you aiming to sort of like say the reason for there being more entrepreneurs?
We try to find what can we do. For example, in general around the world, education for entrepreneurs is still rather poor. And we try to find out maybe there are issues in Thailand being an example for other countries, how they can get more women into entrepreneurship. So we try to find out if there is something which can be transferred, which is maybe not the culture itself, but something, the way they work is different, and maybe it can be taught. Because we know around the world that entrepreneurship is an economic issue for every country.
So it's to find out where the areas are, how many people are sort of focused on that, and to try and guide them towards helping sort of on that path.
Improve the education on entrepreneurship, creativity, and all the other things, and especially for women.
It's obvious, as you mentioned before, statistically, you're saying how there is more women entrepreneurs here in Thailand than there is men. I've noticed it. I think a lot of people notice it here in Phuket, especially because it seems like the advancement in businesses here in Phuket is very strong, and it's a lot of ladies leading the way. Do you experience this more than in Bangkok yourself?
No, especially we see that a lot of women start up in the northeast. But we also have, in general, in the south, we have a lot of established businesses, a high percentage of businesses. We look at the whole south as a region, and we can distinguish Phuket, but it's just a part of the data. We see it all over Thailand. In Bangkok, we have less female entrepreneurs because there are good opportunities also to work in offices, in businesses, as an employee for educated people. So it's better for women outside Bangkok.
And so that's obviously with a sort of security there of working in a business. Yeah. So tempting people into working for a company rather than taking the risk. Because obviously to be an entrepreneur, you're taking risks, aren't you?
Yeah, this is in the word, entrepreneur.
Oh, it is really?
In the French word, yeah.
There you go, learning the language, linguistics of these terms as well.
I think that every woman who is kind of exposed to public relations and to the publicity and has publicity is positive for women in general. Even though I don't think we need it maybe in management more in Thailand than in entrepreneurship, because we have the female entrepreneurs. They are there and they start up and they run the businesses. So we'd rather need improvement maybe in government positions, in management positions, rather than in entrepreneurship. But I think it's always positive if there is a woman leading something, it's always positive for other women maybe to decide what to do. For sure.
Not to hide away and to actually go for it, to be inspired. Very good. Ms. Ulrike Guelich, thank you very much for coming and